My name is Kenneth Geers. I am a senior research scientist with Komodo, and I have 20 years in government with time at NSA, NCIS, and NATO.
I'm Phillip Hallam-Baker. I'm principal scientist with Komodo, and I've got 25 years of experience in web security, beginning with the CERN web project, which I was a member of.
Well, I think ultimately people are the driver, the goal for attackers often, and they are the ultimate fix for many of the security problems that we have, because they will provide the last check on credibility and legitimacy of a request. Say, if you get a hacker calling or sending an email asking for your password, it has to pass the common sense test as well. And so we do need to train people in information security, awareness, and the basic understanding because attacks change so quickly, people need to understand cybersecurity conceptually.
I'm a bit of a heretic on information security training, as you know, for two reasons. One, insider threat. If you look at Snowden was an insider threat, and the problem there was that you had an administrator of the machine who had access to the crown jewels of the National Security Agency. And that situation is seen all over industry. People used to talk about outsourcing as a risk, and now they're starting to realize, well, even if I insource, I've still got the insider risk. So the insider threat is always with us. And the other reason, I think that this is one of the things that was highlighted in the election hacks, is that we live in a world where a large number of the people in authority now, they grew up, they graduated from college before the internet or the computer was there. And they're going to be with us for a long time to come. And if we have this attitude as security people that it is the user's fault, we're not taking responsibility ourselves. Whenever a security systems fail, it's the designer's fault. It's the designer's fault if the user presses the wrong button. It's the designer's fault if they don't use the security product at all. And this is the same thing that they've learned in the aviation industry. When an aircraft goes down, they'll attribute it to pilot error. But that's not the end of the investigation. It's the start, because once they say, okay, the pilot pressed the wrong button, they ask why, was it mislabeled? And we've got to start thinking about security technologies like SMIME and PGP and all this cryptographic security that's been around for 20 years but hasn't really been used because it's been too hard to use. We've got to get it used, and if security technology is out there, it's in the product and not being used, we've got to have people asking why and how do we fix it.
I would counter with a couple of things. One is that smart technology and information technology in general is just evolving so quickly. It's hard to predict, and there is so much power in the hands of users today. I think it's hard to gauge the damage that a user could do. Snowden certainly did enormous damage to an entire country. The power of information technology means that, from your desk where you're sitting, you can pull information from anywhere on the planet and push any information out. Chelsea Manning, right, said this information should go out to the world, and so sent it out to the entire world. The security of that space, though, it has to be, I think, a agreement or a dialogue between the user and the system administrator. There is just too much power that is in everybody's hands, which I think from a historical perspective is beautiful and brilliant. I think, Wikipedia and online education courses, this is terrific. But the potential for damage is great, not only within security controls, but let me say one more thing, in social media. Social media is incredible. We're throwing everything out there. But the security of that space and fake news and botnets and fake accounts spewing racism and xenophobia. What are we going to do about this?
Well, maybe where we can get to kind of like a common meeting of minds here is educating people about the level of risk, I think, is critical. I mean, there's an old saying in British security, security must make sense. Until very recently, people really didn't understand just how powerful social media is. You know, your brand is now one tweet away from disaster. When Carrie Fisher passed away, a company, some low-level marketing person at one company decided to put out a tasteless tweet trying to put up an advert out on the back of a beloved actress passing away. And suddenly, well, slam, instead of it being taken well, suddenly they're facing a boycott threat. And highlighting the fact that when you're dealing with the company brand, you're playing with fire. When you're dealing with critical information that the corporate business depends upon, you know, you're playing with fire. If you have, you know, if you've not taught the people that the cryptography to protect the file, that has to be built in. But you have to teach the person to turn it on, to know that when they create a file that has all the lines of business and all the future plans, that they have to make sure that this is restricted distribution to only the C-suite or whatever. That's somewhere where we have to have the information security plan training and awareness.
So thank you very much for joining us. Really appreciate your time and attention. And on behalf of Phillip and me, we really appreciate it. And if you want any further information, feel free to reach out to us or go to komodo.com.
Thank you.